What's happening, party people? Welcome to the end of month stream. It's gonna be a little bit different today. You might notice it's just me. You might notice it's just me today. And that's perfectly fine. Mew just needed to take a mental health day. And that's perfectly fine. So, before we get into what's on screen here, I know it's cutting off the headline. This was the only way I could, like, avoid like a bunch of ads, but still get the story on screen. So, before we get to that, I've got a couple, like, rapid fire, like, nothing really big enough to warrant a whole lot of discussion. Nothing I'm too... Let me scroll to... yeah, there's just a couple here, like, Capcom is doing a, I believe it's a remaster of Dead Rising, the original one, and they've, whitewashed a Chinese character to, like... Their explanation here, so the Chinese character was, like, an enemy, like a boss fight, and they didn't want to come off as racist for having a psychopath Chinese character, so instead whitewashed, which... that's just a different flavor of racist. But we'll get into a little more of what's going on. We'll get into a more, I feel, prevalent. I'm looking over, by the way, I'm looking over here today because I've had to completely change my setup. So this is where the news is. This is where you guys are. So if I'm looking away, don't worry about it. There was a mini news story. This one's just kind of weird, and I mean very problematic. But like, this wasn't much of a story. A Mario cosplayer in Japan accused of sending lewds to minors. We hate to see that, but I mean, like, there's not much of a story there. Nintendo's probably gonna sue the hell out of this guy. What else was going on? Oh, they're teasing BioShock 4, but again, there's not really a whole lot there. Like, I think there's been like a couple of images leaked, and I think they were talking about it might be in Antarctica. I love BioShock, so you know I'm gonna be keeping an eye out for that one, but not much of a story there. Again, this was a non-starter. Riot Games reportedly started developing and then canceled a platform fighter in the style of Smash Brothers. And I mean, if it used like a bunch of League characters, and I wish, you know, Mew could be here to talk about this because she had a different take on it. I'm of the belief that if this had gone through with like League characters in a Smash style environment, it could have made waves. You know, you already have like the competitive scene of Smash Brothers and the competitive scene of League, so marrying those two, I feel like, could have created a whole new kind of gamer. Derogatory. That would have been fun. Oh, early reviews of the Borderlands movie called the film terrible and unfunny. I'm so excited. Nintendo teases an M-rated game. It looks kind of spooky. Just some announcements for Nintendo. What's coming to Nintendo's online service, their back catalog, you know, retro online catalog. Oh yeah, Mike Pollock. Again, I don't want to dwell too much on this, but Mike Pollock, longtime voice actor of Dr. Eggman / Robotnik from the Sonic the Hedgehog games, and the shows, like I think he was in Sonic Boom as well. The best that everybody's trying to like apologize for him online by being like, oh, he's just old and senile, but he's been saying some not cool things in regards to the ongoing genocide in Palestine. Again, I don't want to dwell too much on it, but he called it propaganda. He he had some unfavorable words for it. So I'm not gonna apologize for him and be like, oh, he's just old and senile. I'm not gonna apologize for him. He's a grown man. You know, if it really were an issue, family would step in. You know. Oh, this was just a real quick funny one. And again, we'll get into like the larger stories here in a bit. But there was a sale. Prime Day. Amazon has a big sale during a handful of days in the summer called Prime Day, and they were giving away some free PC codes during Prime Day, and one of them was Suicide Squad. They're already giving away Suicide Squad, and Apex Legends was getting review bombed because of some Battle Pass changes, which I don't play Apex. I'm not super huge on any game that has like seasons, battle passes, things like that. Like if we're gonna do a season pass, do it the way like it used to be, where it was just a cheaper way to get all the DLC. You know, like how Bethesda does it. You know, the Bethesda season pass of, oh, here's, you know, a bunch of DLC for Fallout 4. They did like 2 of those, and those were good. And then it was it. That was that. You don't have to keep buying more and more season passes. So yeah. Oh, there was also, I don't have it up here, but there was also an issue a friend was telling me about with oh, what is it? Overwatch 2. Overwatch 2 has a new cosmetic out for Reinhardt that is like tiered, and it's like for $50 you get a cool new hammer. For $60 it lights up. For $70, you can do like a little spin animation with the hammer. You can spin it. You can spin it in your hands. For like $80, it does all of that, and you get a special animation when you actually like hit the ground with it. It does like a special animation. $80 for cosmetics. It's so bad. I played Overwatch 1. I was big into Overwatch 1. I really liked Overwatch 1. And for people who know how not into competitive games I am, I really liked Overwatch 1. But I couldn't get into Overwatch 2 because at that point I wasn't really on Xbox anymore, and they were doing this whole thing at launch where it's like, oh, the only way to get all of the heroes in Overwatch 2 is to already have like pre-existing data or something from Overwatch 1. So like I would maybe be playing it on PC or something, or even maybe PlayStation, because it wasn't on Xbox anymore. But all of my data that would have allowed me to unlock all the heroes would have been on Xbox. So it was just like a compatibility issue for between when I played it and now. So that sucks. But yeah, so I never got into Overwatch 2 heavily. I see a lot of like, oh, new characters coming out, and yeah, the designs are cool. It's just very Overwatch, you know. They have a particular design philosophy, I guess. Like, you can look at a character and know it's from Overwatch, right? But apparently they've had a lot of issues with these like super special limited time cosmetics. Because like $50 for a special hammer for a character, and just the base, $50. Doesn't light up, doesn't do any special animations, it's just a different look on it. And the thing is, it looks really cool when it lights up, so just having it like not do that, oh man. Cosmetic microtransactions, that's a macro transaction, let's be real. $80, that's like the price of a new game. Alright, okay, and again, a lot of these are just kind of non-stories. Nintendo says they're not going to be using generative AI. They prefer to create, which, based. But, I mean, honestly, I would be more surprised if Nintendo did say they were going to start using generative AI. Nintendo has always felt like a very, like, artist-first company, you know what I mean? That we're going to talk about later. Paramount Plus has canceled the Halo series after 2 seasons. I didn't even know it got a 2nd season. Producer plans to seek a new home for potential 3rd season. So they're going to be shopping around that show. We're going to be talking about that later. Oh my god! I completely forgot about this. I didn't even pull up a story for this one. So this can be... that'll be like the first big one we can talk about. Capcom says that Mega Man is a highly valued property of theirs, and they're considering how to move forward with it to make Mega Man games on a consistent basis. If that were... I don't know, something about that feels false, right? Like, if you really valued a property, you would keep it going, and the best that they've been doing, aside from like Mega Man 11 years ago, has been those collections: Mega Man Collection, Mega Man X Collection, ZX Collection, Mega Man Battle Network Collection, which, you know, to be fair, that is bringing all of the games up to modern consoles to keep people invested. So that's not atrocious, but I mean, I feel like if it was super valued, they would just be making them. You know what I mean? Instead of, what's Capcom doing? Like, a bunch of new Resident Evil games? Like, Resident Evil's their bread and butter, let's be real. Talk about that later. Okay. So I think... Oh, the last one... that, again, it was just like... the whole article was basically 2 lines of information. Is that Humble Games is basically shutting down, and they're lying to people about it. Humble Games has shuttered, like, all of its studio, like all of its physical studio or physical offices. They fired everybody, and people who work there confirmed, yes, we've all been fired, but the social media accounts are saying, oh no, we're restructuring, don't worry about it. But apparently there isn't even like a social media person, and those are like AI generated responses according to people that work there. So I don't know if that's coming out of spite, coming out of bitterness. Obviously, like, we hope that everybody there lands on their feet, you know, everybody who formerly of Humble Games. It's fascinating, though, because, like, I looked up Humble Games just because I feel like when people think about Humble Games, they think of Humble Bundle, which was probably costing them a lot of money to get, like, oh, here's $200 worth of stuff, whether it's, like, TTRPG books or it's a bunch of games for, like, $20. Like, that was probably hurting them a lot. It was cool. It was not sustainable, let's be real. Especially for such a small company. Like, Xbox can get away with Game Pass, and we'll talk about what's new with Game Pass coming up here soon. But Humble Games, I don't feel like marketed a lot of their... Because when I think of Humble Games, I think their most recent one is Bow. Bow and the Teal Lotus? Teal Lotus? I've heard good things about it. I have bought it. I have not played it yet. I might be playing it on stream. Who knows? But they did, like, Signalis, Slay the Spire, I think. They've done a few. You know, they're very much one of those, like, oh, we're a small publisher and we find homes for indie titles, you know, independent developers. But they just did not market any of their actual in-house games properly, which is a shame, because they're not bad games. They review pretty well. They just have a very small audience. So that's too bad, and I wish Humble Games wouldn't lie to people about, you know, firing everybody. But yeah, the one here that I did not even open an article about, that I did want to talk about, that I completely breezed by in, like, looking at all this stuff, is that Bethesda has unionized. This includes artists, engineers, programmers, and designers. This is big. One of the biggest Western game companies. Unionizing? Absolutely. Hell yeah. Is there anything else? No, I mean, that's the long and the short of it, is that Bethesda's unionized, and I hope going forward this means more quality assurance, maybe get a new engine, because there are usually like big big AAA companies with the red flags that we think of, like notoriously like EA, sometimes Ubisoft, Activision, you know, there's lots of, and I mean ActiBliz I should say, but like I feel like Bethesda has managed to fly under the radar of toxicity. There's definitely something going on there, because they are one of the biggest companies that just keeps releasing broken crap, and we let them get away with it because it's Bethesda. I've been playing Skyrim, in kind of just a different Skyrim that I've been playing on stream. Just been playing Skyrim in the off stream with some friends. We have like the Skyrim Together mod to play Skyrim together, and every now and then I'll play that character solo. Just it's a BS character I don't care about, but you know, I'm having fun with it. It's incredible to me because I have like the super special anniversary edition of I had the super special anniversary edition of Skyrim, the game I was literally just talking about. I'm good. I went to the gym earlier today, so I'm like exhausted first thing in the morning. It's awesome. That's what coffee's for. And now I'm out of coffee to rotate in this Monster Rehab. Alright. Yeah, so it's just incredible to me how a game that is this old, has gone through so many patches and things, is still so busted. It's crazy. But yeah, so I'm hoping that this is a big turning point for Bethesda, because they just dropped DLC for whatever that space game they did was. What was their new space game? It had a super fucking forgettable title. Hang on. One moment. Star something. Bethesda Starfield. Yeah. Man, fucking Starfield, dude. So yeah, hopefully this will bring some quality, and hopefully Starfield will be the last dud. Hey, what's going on, Dragon Boy? Hoping, fingers crossed, that Starfield will be the last dud from... Yeah, it has been a while. I'm just going through end of month stuff. You know, there's been a lot that's happened in the gaming sphere. Right now we're just talking about Bethesda unionizing, and this is big, you know, that such a major company managed to unionize. And you know, going forward, because they talked about Elder Scrolls 6, they've talked about Sounded Mean. Oh no, it's all good. It's all good. Don't worry about it. Elder Scrolls 6, Fallout 5, and I feel like there's another one that they said that they're like working on the back burner, because their next big release supposedly is going to be Elder Scrolls 6, but we'll see. But now that they're unionized, let's, you know, fingers crossed for a level of quality assurance that maybe has been lacking the last few years. Anyway, that's all like the little things. That one I actually did want to pull up an article about, but I just forgot to. But now we're going to get to the big ones here that I have. So like, first one here, and this one's pretty big. From The Hollywood Reporter, written by Eric Hayden. SAG-AFTRA calls strike against major video game studios, and I know that it's currently cut off. Stop by to say hi, Bex. All good. Thanks so much, Dragon Boy. Have a good one. Yeah, so... realized that it's cut off here against mass studios. This was the only way I was able to crop in on the articles without does my there's my cursor. Okay, yeah, it's the only way I was able to crop in on the article without getting like a bunch of ads and stuff. So basically, voice actors, SAG-AFTRA has given voice actors the go-ahead to go on strike. I feel like they should have gone on strike last year with the like screen actors, you know, TV and movie actors that went on strike last year, and the writers' strike. Union President Fran Drescher has stated enough is enough. 35,000 union members voted to authorize the strike. And I think there was a quote I saw from this guy, Duncan Crabtree Ireland, which Crabtree Ireland is an insane last name. I love that. But yeah, this is over AI generative stuff, as it always, or as it has been. But they asked Crabtree Ireland here, why go on strike right as Comic-Con is starting? Like, this weekend, Comic-Con is starting. And he basically said we, like, exhausted all of our other options. We didn't want it to come to a strike. Studios just aren't listening. I wish I had that article pulled up. This was just one that looked better on stream. So yeah, this is in regards to artificial intelligence concerns, and we're not going to this is fine. We're not going to consent to a contract that allows companies to abuse AI to the detriment of our members. Enough is enough. When these companies get serious about offering an agreement our members can live and work with, we'll be here ready to negotiate. So yeah, they're not, it sounds like it, and this is again from SAG-AFTRA President Fran Drescher. Yo, what's up, gamers? What's going on, Arrow? Good to see ya. Yeah, so right now, we're just talking about SAG-AFTRA calls strike against major video game studios. Fun. Yeah, so again, I'm always pro-strike, I'm always pro-workers' rights, and AI is, you know, it's a scary thing. And like we mentioned a little bit earlier in, just like, you know, a few minutes ago, there are some studios that said they aren't using generative AI, you know, like Nintendo's not going to be using AI, all that fun stuff. Bethesda unionized, so that is hopefully going to battle AI use in Bethesda, which, you know, I want to give studios the benefit of the doubt, unless they have that notorious track record. EA, Ubisoft, Activision. There are some names. There are some names you think of when you think of like the problem children for at least the Western gaming market. Yeah, so for the most part, this is a very good thing. Now, what this means as a streamer, now that there is this big strike going on, and you know, if I want to support the strike, do I just not play a game? Let's see, they mentioned, kind of curious about Nintendo AI, given their technical abilities. I feel like at most it'd be able to do equations. Well, they were talking, Nintendo confirmed that they won't be using, like, they won't be, like, outsourcing to generative AI companies, like the usual ones that you think of, or even people that, even like AIs that you can just plug artists' art into and it spits shit back out, like that kind of stuff. They're not going to be doing that. They want to, I think the exact words that the representative from Nintendo used was they want to create like unique experiences to us. You know, one of those things. It's like Nintendo can only make Nintendo stuff, and we want to keep moving forward with our visions. So even plugging our own Nintendo stuff back into an AI to spit it back out is just getting worse and worse versions of our stuff. Where'd the music go? One moment. Did this chunk of the video just get copyright striked? There we go. That's weird. Yeah, sorry about that. Interesting. Alright, so see if I can, I think earlier up here it said that voices performance capture workers on titles from Disney, Activision, EA, WB Games, and Insomniac. So because I still want to be able to do my thing, and I still want to, I'm sure, so last time this happened, when this happened last year, and the strikes started for screen actors, or I should say like TV and film actors, There were plenty of sources where you could find, you know, oh, here are companies that are on strike. You know, if you want to support them, boycott these. So, I might be changing what I play. I think so. Since this is voice performances, I still think I'll be able. Hey, what's going on, dude? Since these are, excuse me, performance workers, you know, motion capture as well as voice performers, I should still be able to play things like Valhalla that, you know, don't use either of those things. They don't have voice acting, they don't have motion capture. Judgment? Maybe not. I think, oh man, I'm trying to remember who owned. So, after beating Dot Hack, Spyro, A Hero's Tale, the Ember playthrough won the vote. And I'm trying to remember who owned that at the time. Baba Is You stays winning. Baba Is You is a good shout. So I'm going to do a little more research before tomorrow, I guess, like next time I stream. I'm going to do a little more research as to which companies are and aren't striking. And it feels like I'm going to be playing a lot of pixel art games. You know, lots of, you know, no voice acting, no motion capture, that kind of stuff, until this is resolved. Which, you know, it sucks because literally my favorite games company right here, Insomniac Games, is mentioned. So rip to a real one. But I'm glad that they're, you know, I'm glad that they're included for workers' comp. So yeah, for the most part, look at this man. That's the face of a man that cares about his people. Alright. I'm just going to click exit on this article, and we'll see which one opens up next. I thought I clicked it. Oh boy! Resident Evil 7 is the latest AAA port to flop on iPhones. This is a Kotaku article written by Zach Zweisen. So, for people who don't remember when this happened, I think it was earlier this year or maybe late last year, Apple announced... Yeah, so Apple announced that their new... yes, RE7 on iPhone. So, Apple announced last year that their new phones coming out are strong enough to run games. And to prove that, they spent a bunch of money on ports. So it was like, I'm going to look up how many, or all the different ones real quick. Because it was RE7, Assassin's Creed Mirage is mentioned here, which at the time was like the most recent Assassin's Creed. Shadows isn't out yet, but like that's the next one people are getting excited for, is Assassin's Creed Shadows. So I'm just going to open up a tab away from here. Hyper-realistic survival horror game flopped on in the Apple ecosystem? Impossible. Hang on. Games ported to iPhone. Do I believe the ones that Google is just telling me? These are not what I... Oh, this is from... That's not what I wanted. What do we have? Come on. Call of Duty Mobile, Genshin Impact, RE7, RE4, Death Stranding Director's Cut, Assassin's Creed Mirage. It looks like Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, Hitman Blood Money, Max Payne. Oh, and this is the RE4 remake. Damn. Alright. So that just sounds like a bad time. So yeah, what is fascinating about this to me is, like, it's obviously one of those things that, like, we didn't need this didn't need to happen. All these games being ported to iPhone. Because if you are a dedicated enough gamer, for lack of a better term, if you're a dedicated enough gamer to know that you can just play Resident Evil 7 without any of the other ones, like for the most part, most Resident Evil games are pretty standalone. Exactly, gamer. If you are RE4 Remake Max Payne, the real pay come from iPhone catches on fire. Exactly. So, if you are a dedicated enough gamer to know that you can just play Resident Evil 7 separate from any of the other ones, you know, because I feel like people who aren't in the know will just be like, well, I want to start with the first one, you know? Like I feel like the public, you know? You're not going to be playing this. Like, you're going to have a game system. Like, if you want to play games on the go, I feel like if you're that dedicated, you're going to have a Switch. Or you're going to have... Most phone gamers just want Minecraft and idle games. Exactly. Nobody's going to be playing... Like, I have... They just play 15 minutes at a time. Exactly. So, I have a Backbone, which is a little collapsible... You forgot gacha? Yeah. So, I have a Backbone, which is a little collapsible controller attachment for my phone. Like, it just kind of, my phone just kind of cradles in there and it plugs in. And I'm able to stream my PlayStation to my phone. So, you know, if my partner and I are watching something, or like there's just something on, or she has the TV for something, I can also be on the couch and just be doing something, you know? Like, and that's perfect for me, in all honesty. But, like, if you are a dedicated enough gamer to be playing something on the go like this, you're gonna have a Switch. Or you're gonna have a Steam Deck. Or even, like, the PlayStation Portal, like, their new handheld thing, streams your PlayStation from, like, any Wi-Fi, which is dangerous. You shouldn't do that. You should only play your PlayStation Portal at home, but again, that kind of defeats the point. That's such a weird peripheral. And it looks so bad. But, like... I think this generation of PlayStation stuff looks bad, but like in an endearing way. Like, the PlayStation 5 is ugly, parenthesis endearing. The PlayStation Portal is ugly, parenthesis endearing. You can get an NES controller and emulate NES. Exactly, you can just emulate on your phone. PS5 looks like Kaiba. Yeah, and I love him. But nobody's gonna be playing this. RE7, Assassin's Creed Mirage. If you want to play if you are a dedicated enough gamer to play Assassin's Creed Mirage on the go, you probably have a Steam Deck. Let's be real. You probably have invested into one of these. See if it had less than 2,000 players. Yikes. See if it has any other, the RE4 remake. Oh, and Resident Evil Village 8. So expensive yet so little. Sony looks at Nintendo, outdated performance, bet. Yeah, so I guess that's really it. Oh, why AAA games are flopping on iPhone? Tell me, Zach Svison. What's happening here? Higher price points for these. Oh yeah, these are full price games. On an iPhone. These are higher price points for these AAA ports, scaring a lot of mobile players who are used to free games. Yes. That's also... exactly it. So yeah, that's fucking insane. Whatever you do, don't. Nobody needs this. Nobody wants this. Dear Apple, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Alright, once again, I'm just going to click off of this and we'll see what opens up. Inaugural Olympic Games 2025 will be held in Saudi Arabia. I don't know if anybody else saw the video of them, like, ratifying this. But it was so funny to see this. Can't wait until my smart fridge can play Skyrim. Oh, wait, exactly. It already does. So, there's going to be Olympic esports. This is kind of a 1-2, because I heard it was happening, and that it's going to be held in Saudi Arabia. For people who don't know, Saudi Arabia is trying to diversify their global economy by investing in things other than oil. And one of the big things they're investing in is video games for some reason. So I'm honestly not surprised that the first Olympic esports games will be held in Saudi Arabia. There's, you know, other global, you know, geopolitical issues going on in Saudi Arabia. Their stances on, you know, women's rights, LGBTQIA+ people. They're, you know, they I think recently declared, they either declared war or declared a second wave of war on a neighboring country. I believe it was Yemen. And there's like there's all kinds of other like geopolitical issues. Yeah, exactly. So there's like other issues. There's like other issues, you know, with Saudi Arabia, you know, the government. And again, like, it's always tough to talk about the government of a place because, like, the government are not its people. The people, nobody asks to be born where they're born. Nobody asks to be, you know, nobody asks to be born a woman in a country that hates women, you know? So, can't even enter most cities if you're not Muslim. Like, I get what Islamophobia might still be huge. Yeah. There was actually another article I saw before I went live that was like the 2025 games, like the 2025 esports games could push like really like it could help against the Islamophobia, at least in the States, because again, that's where I see my news articles from. But it was like, hey, if you want to battle Islamophobia, you could, you know... Hang on, I got an itch. Yeah, if you want to battle Islamophobia, America loves gaming. So yeah, but I don't know if anybody else saw the video of them ratifying this. It was a stuffy room full of like, it looked like a UN meeting, like people from all over the world in like stuffy suits. Everybody in there was like over the age of 40. And wonder how that meeting went down. Hey, should we diversify our economy from oil, crops, industries, games, video games? Give the children what they want, right? No. But yeah, the video of them ratifying this was a guy, you know, stuffy guy, like gotta be like in his 60s. And I believe he was French, but he was speaking English in a French accent, and he was, you know, can we get a call for, you know, ratifying or codifying the first inaugural, you know, Olympic esports event that will be taking place next year, 2025? Can we get a show of hands for yays? And he's looking around the room, you know, like, okay, you know, he's counting. He's just like. It looks like he's counting. He's like doing the finger thing, and he's just like, that's a lot. Can we get the nays? Can I get, if there are any nays, he's looking around. Can we get any, are there any nays? Can we get any abstentions? Is there anybody abstaining from this vote? It was unanimous. This stuffy room full of again, like people over 40 none of them look like they have touched a video game. It was unanimous, which begs the question, because when I say Saudi Arabia has been pumping money into the gaming industry globally, I mean the last number I saw was a projected $40 million by the end of the decade, which is a lot. Like, they are pumping so much money into the games industry globally. So, I feel like, imagine if they cared about world hunger. Imagine! But no, instead we get, it's cutting off. Okay, it's not showing up on the stream here, but Rocket League, Street Fighter, and League of Legends. Oh boy. So I am fascinated by this. When I think it was Vimeo James, when I think it was Mew who like first brought this to my attention, dropped it in the and once the stream is over, I'll drop all of these articles that I've been reading into the notes so people can further do some reading on all this that's going on. But I am so, because it looks like they're mostly going to be doing all of the like already competitive Rocket League, Street Fighter, League of Legends. I wouldn't be surprised if they do a Smash Brothers event as well. But I would be fascinated at how many different competitive. It really goes to show people would rather literally do anything else than solve hunger, social, or societal issues. Yeah. Yeah. Because this is a lot to be, like $40 million, I feel like could do it. It's one of those things where, like, you hear about, like, somebody's net worth, you know, or not net worth, you know, just how much somebody has, because net worth is never correct. Net worth is never correct. But you hear about, like, how much a billionaire has, and it's like, oh, it wouldn't even cost $1 billion to solve the, like, hunger crisis in Africa. You know? It's insane. The disparity between, you know, the tunnel vision that rich people have of, like, their interests that keep their life going and what they could do with that money. But yeah, so that's fun and cool. And once again, this is an IGN article by Isaiah Colbert. I will be dropping all these into the Discord once the stream is over so people can do some further reading. Let's click the new Microsoft Game Pass system. Oh boy. So this is just a this is a restructuring of how Xbox, or this looked ass. So for people that don't know, Xbox is changing their subscription service. I feel like Nintendo has, like, 2 services that they provide. It's online gaming, you know, play online, cloud save, all that fun stuff, or their, like, online digital library of retro games. You could pay for, like, one of the other ones. This is more aligned with how PlayStation does their online service. So basic PlayStation Plus is like, oh, you get, like, a couple of free games a month. I think anywhere from, like, it's either, like, 2 big ones or, like, a AAA game and 2, like, indie games. Like, it's generally pretty good value for what it is. I really like it. But again, like, that's me being a PlayStation fan person. But yeah, it's like the base one is like you play online, you have the cloud save, and you get a couple free games every month. The next tier is all of that, and you get, like, an online digital library of a bunch of, like, newer PS4, PS5 games that you can... Some of them are download, some of them are stream only, and then the highest tier is the retro tier. Like, you have to pay for everything else to get to the retro tier that has your, like, PS3 games, PS Vita games, PSP games that are ported to PlayStation 5, PS2, PS1 games, and that's the... I have one of those, like, annual ones, so I'm saving up, like, all the time, so, like, by next year when I need to re-up that subscription, I have enough to up it for the year. And they have, like, an end-of-year sale usually, but that's, like, because that's a lot of the games that I grew up with, you know, PS2 games especially. But, so this is along the same lines, where they're stripping back. It used to just be, like, Game Pass. Like, you pay for Game Pass, you have all of the... It was separate from Xbox Live. You know, it was like Xbox Live was your online gaming, your cloud storage. Game Pass was the... like, big online library of games and stuff. I think they combined them a couple of years ago. Like, I think that was a previous thing that they did, was they combined it, so it was like, oh, pay for Game Pass and you get, like, online gaming and this. So Phil Spencer, head of Xbox, has talked about Game Pass, and Game Pass does not generate revenue for Xbox or Microsoft. From what I understand in articles that I've read with Phil Spencer, the head of Xbox, it is self-sustaining. Game Pass was making enough money, and again, this could have just been the big spike that gaming saw during COVID, but Game Pass was making enough to keep itself going. Self-sustaining, but fuck studios? Oh, for sure. It's, like, it's not a great... It's great for... At least the original version of Game Pass was good for consumer, which, you know... it's tough because like studios are people, and those people just need to work to live. You know, they need to be paid livable wages. Rip Hi-Fi. Oh yeah, like that's a whole other like Microsoft and Xbox. Like that's shuttering like Tango GameWorks and stuff. Like I don't think that has anything to do with Game Pass. Because again, like it's one of those things where all the things that they're paying for to put on Game Pass is paying for itself with Game Pass subscriptions, is what I mean by self-sustaining. Like it doesn't have anything to do with like their in-studio games or the studios that they bought. But they recently announced a restructuring to Game Pass, and now it operates a lot more like PlayStation's, but in a weirder, worse way. So it's more expensive, and basically, I don't think anything has changed from Game Pass on PC, but now Game Pass on console has like a 3-tiered system. Let's see if this article can remind me what all goes into. So this is a Polygon article by Ollie Welsh. Let's see. Here we go. Let's work backwards here. So, Xbox Game Pass Core remains $10 a month, 12-month subscription going up from $60 a month to $75 a month. So, PlayStation's Core, like their I think it's called PlayStation Essential, PS Plus Essential. I feel like Xbox keeps diving headfirst in these stupid decisions for sure. I think this is finally them admitting that Game Pass is like going down, and with game prices going up from, you know, $60 to $70, $75 just for a standard edition of a game, USD, 60 USD to 70 USD. Like, it's costing them more money to keep all of these games on Game Pass, so it is no longer self-sustaining. They have to increase the price. But PlayStation Essentials is $60 a month, and Xbox Core, which is the equivalent, is going up to $75 a month. This tier includes online multiplayer, small catalog of over 25 games, tells me below 30. So less than 30 games, and online multiplayer. And then standard, which is the standard, the one that they had before creating Core, which is the stripped down version, is $5 more a month. It will include online multiplayer and a back catalog of hundreds of games, but won't be including day one releases. This has been Game Pass's huge selling point, is day one on Game Pass. Whenever Xbox has like a new AAA title that was from their company, it's always day one on Game Pass. Starfield, day one on Game Pass. I've blanked on literally everything Xbox has made. I guess, what was that one from Arcane Lion? The vampire one, day one Game Pass. I legitimately can't remember what it's called. Arcane Lion made a vampire game last year that wasn't very good. I'm trying to remember what it's called. Doesn't matter. This has been their big selling point, is that, and I think like Call of Duty games, because it's Activision, are like day one Game Pass. All of these like big games that, you know, a certain core audience of probably hundreds of thousands of people at least. Redfall! Yep, Redfall. And Red fell on its face and died. I've heard that it's just not awesome. I've heard it is a solid like 5 out of 10, but people misconstrued the name Arcane because there's 2 Arcane companies. The other Arcane made Dishonored, the really good one that people love. They did like Dishonored and Deathloop. Like the other Arcane studio is the studio that made all the games people love. So when people just read Arcane, not specifically Arcane Lion or Leon, Lyon, they had an expectation that Redfall just didn't meet, and now Arcane Leon or Lion was shuttered with Tango GameWorks, so that fucking sucks. I hope that they were at least able to move all of those workers to the other Arcane studio. Day one is good because if a game sucks, you only pay $18 instead of $60, and that's the issue with Game Pass. It is very good for consumer, very poor for a studio's bottom line, which is why you get things like, oh, Redfall didn't do well. I wonder why, because you day one'd it on Game Pass and it wasn't very good, so you didn't have a lot of concurrent players. Nobody actually went out of the way to buy it, because day one on Game Pass feels like it needs to accomplish two things. It needs to be a great game that keep people playing so they keep upping their subscription, like Starfield. Starfield is a great example because it was Bethesda's new big not JRPG, it was Bethesda's big new like open world game. And those have a core audience. Personally, I don't think Starfield looks very good. I will probably never play it. But it is a big enough game where it is a Bethesda game, so a certain amount of people will at least try it. And of those people will want to keep playing it, and since it is a large game, people will keep upping their Game Pass subscription to keep playing it. And after a while, you hope that it begins paying for itself, you know? Like, the amount of people still paying for Game Pass to play Starfield will you know, sort of subvert the costs. More Bethesda games. Most Bethesda games have the 100-hour rule. Yeah. But what it also needs to do, what day one Game Pass needs to be doing, is getting people to say, this is, like, the people with Game Pass need to say, the games are great until around the 100-hour mark where it falls off a cliff. I mean, correct, objectively. It has, like, 100 hours of solid, good content, and then you're just kind of wandering around like, oh, here's a mission, here's a side quest I forgot, but you're, you know, super OP. 100 hours on a game that feels like money worth anyway? Yeah, but I mean, I've always been an advocate that the amount of hours you spend with a game should not always be indicative of a game's worth. Like, I'm of the belief system that if it is a, you know, a 10-hour game that I will play 6 times and enjoy 6 times, that is worth more of my money than a 60-hour game that is only okay. If you were able to spend, oh yeah, if you're able to get 100 hours of enjoyment out of a game, that's awesome. Like, personally, I think the Kingdom Hearts collection, like the 1.5, 2.5 remix collection, that big one that included like 4 remastered games and then 2 cutscene movie collages. Go to Pelican Game running on my PC. Like that, those are like a handful of like great games, all of which I would easily pay, you know, or were full price at launch. But you know, like $60 for like 4 awesome games. That's great. So the other thing that Game Pass needs to accomplish, getting back on track, the other thing that Game Pass needs to accomplish is people with Game Pass need to tell people without Game Pass, this game is great, you need to buy it. Deathloop is a great example. Deathloop was day one on Game Pass, and it was, I think, a timed exclusive on Xbox. It came out like maybe 3 months later on PlayStation or something to that effect. It was a very short, limited exclusive. And personally, I think that was great marketing for Deathloop, because Deathloop was a good game. So people with Game Pass played it and kept playing it because it was a good game, and they were able to tell people, you know, there were, instead of like reviewers getting, you know, early copies and saying, oh, this game good, because a lot of people don't really trust games journalism anymore, because a lot of that is bought and paid for. Instead, what you got were real people who played the game saying, it's good. If you liked Dishonored, you know, this is by the Dishonored company, and it's good, you know. It has a great premise, you know, the gameplay loop feels good, XYZ reasons. Like, you have people on the same level, you know, who understand what makes a game valuable to a player. You know, the gameplay, it looked nice. I got value for what I was spending. That was great marketing for Deathloop. And more games need to have that with Game Pass. because that's how you start actually generating revenue with Game Pass, is getting people who don't have a Game Pass either to sign up to play it or just buy a game outright. Like, I would never pay for Game Pass. I don't have an Xbox, and my PC just isn't optimized enough. Hello, hello! What's going on? So yeah, my PC just isn't optimized enough to be streaming a lot of games like that. It's easier just to, like, for me to, like, download them, but Game Pass is pointless for me. Exactly. Like, I would never get a Game Pass subscription, but if a friend of mine who had Game Pass said, hey, this game was, like, day one on Game Pass, and it's great. This game is awesome. I think you would like it. I'll look into it, and I will probably buy it outright. That is good marketing for Game Pass, and that's good marketing for a game that is otherwise not getting those sales. Oh, I gotcha. Alright. All good. I am almost done talking about this, because the last one here for Game Pass Ultimate is the day one on Game Pass. Valley of Companies is basically, if they know their game is bad, day one Game Pass is bad because they won't get revenue. If they know their game is great, it's not worth it for them. Baldur's Gate 3, exactly. BG3, if BG3 was day one Game Pass, ooh, that would, like, severely, like, obviously anything day one on Game Pass severely tanks sales. But what Xbox needs to do more, what needs to do is take a break with all these new Xbox Studio releases. Mostly tend to be mediocre. Fill the void with some old game remasters or remakes or whatever. Give the studios time to actually be successful. Did Hi-Fi have a choice? No. Because that is a studio owned by Xbox. Baldur's Gate 3 had a choice because Larian is, I believe, self-owned. Like, over in Ireland, I believe they're a self-owned company. Community who shit on remakes because they want something new. Exactly. There's almost no winning with things like that. Personally, I think all these studios need to stop spending because, or they fuck up the remakes, digging their graves further, or that. So what I feel like needs to happen is major studios need to stop spending money on smaller studios, and by that I mean buying up smaller studios. And we need to start prioritizing, because this is what happened with Embracer Group. Embracer Group kept buying things up, but they had no management. They had no way of managing all these companies that they kept bought, and they just kept buying them. So now Embracer Group is breaking up into 3 smaller subsidiary companies that will be easier to manage. So we'll just take Xbox, for example. Because Xbox was on the forefront of all of those, like, oh, we're just going to buy a bunch of studios. Because they have larger studios and smaller studios, and the unfortunate thing is the smaller studios are just easier to shutter. That's what happened with Arcane Lion, Tango Gameworks, Alpha Dog, who did mobile games. Like, those were the 3 that closed. Toys for Bob was next on the chopping block, and they managed to buy themselves back. And now they are working independently, contractually, with Xbox. They own themselves again. I wonder if collaborations are a better idea than buying up small studios. Not that this would happen, but there's no winning with it. Remakes are good for both preservation and getting new fans, as long as they don't do something highly unnecessary like The Last of Us 2 remake. That's Naughty Dog and PlayStation. That is their... I want Naughty Dog just to make something. Please, Naughty Dog, just make something. Instead of remastering, remaking all of your 2-year-old game. Just make something. From what I understand, though, thinking, just, again, tangentially, thinking about Naughty Dog's, like, their studio philosophy, or, like, their core work program, new employees work on those remakes because it is a very clear, well-defined framework, and it allows them to learn the new technology. Like, Last of Us Part 1, which was the name of the, like, from the ground up remake of Last of Us, I believe was worked on by, like, almost an entirely new team, so that they can learn the PS5, like, coding stuff, like the PS5 dev kit, while also, you know, they had a clear framework because it was Last of Us, it was a game they already made. And for Last of Us 2 Remake Ultimate Director's Cut. Yeah, so, anyway, let's just get back to this. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, going up from $16 to $20 a month. This tier includes the day one releases, the full game catalog, online multiplayer, cloud gaming. Cloud gaming did not show up on this list until Ultimate. If you pay for Standard, you gotta download all your things locally. Ultimate, you can stream it, you can save to a cloud, you don't have to keep all of your stuff on your game hard drive. EA Play membership is weirdly specific. Like, EA and Ubisoft have, like, their own special, like, oh, subscription service for Assassin's Creed. Excuse me. And access on both Xbox and PC. So, even cross-save is locked away at this highest tier. If you play a game, if you're playing Assassin's Creed Mirage or Valhalla on PC, and you want to go to the living room and just keep playing it on your nice big TV or whatever, that is locked behind the $20 a month tier. And then let's go down to PC Game Pass is going up a couple dollars a month. That's not too bad. This tier includes day one releases and access to the full games catalog on PC. So, basically, PC Game Pass for $12 a month is the equivalent of $20 a month Game Pass Ultimate. Game Pass is supposed to be the thing that is selling people on buying an Xbox. Who's going to buy an Xbox now that doesn't already have one? I know not everybody can have a PC that plays games, you know? But let's break this down and look at financial costs, right? And what you would be getting out of the system. Xbox, you get a multimedia system. It can play physical games, it can play movies if you have DVDs, Blu-rays, 4Ks. You know, it plays disc movies. And you have your... It's also just a general, like, oh, you can go to YouTube. You can go have, like, all your streaming services on this. And for $20, you can have Game Pass. Okay. If we're to break that down, if I were to invest in a PC that can play games... So that... It's like, what, $500 plus $500 for one of the new Xboxes, and then $20 a month, or obviously a little bit more. I think a $500 PC in the long run wouldn't be as good. But you know, if you were to pay maybe $750 for just a pre-built, you know, investing obviously a majority of that into processor, GPU, power supply, $750 to $1,000, so like 2 Xboxes, but it'll last you way longer, and you get access to this Xbox online library. Play like 3 games a year, and or someone's friends are only on Xbox. Yeah, okay, yeah. If all your friends play games on Xbox, I see why you would. And I mean, that's why I started investing more in like a gaming PC. First of all, I needed a good GPU for my editing. Second of all, I had a lot of friends who played games on Steam, which is my other point. You would have access to... Hello? Did this song also get copyright stricken? Weird. Okay. But you would have the Xbox, you know, catalog from the subscription. You would have access to Steam, Epic. You would still have all your streaming services just as websites instead of web apps, maybe. Like, in the long run, to me, when you break it down financially, it would be more of an initial investment, but it would be better in the long run to just get a good PC and play all these. You can have, from what I understand, you can have Xbox Live parties on PC and Xbox. So if you're paying for the online subscription service to PC Game Pass, from what I understand, and somebody is paying for Game Pass Ultimate, you could also get a Steam Deck for like $50 more. Of course, I doubt someone who's more casual wouldn't. Oh, for sure. And I was talking about that earlier, like with the Apple getting games on Apple Store. No, people, instead of getting your fancy new iPhone that also can play games, a dedicated gamer would probably just invest in a Switch or a Steam Deck. I don't know, this whole thing seems ludicrous to me as an outside observer. And again, like, I know people are gonna come for me, whether it's like, oh, hypocrite or something, where it's like, you pay for PlayStation's big version of this, but I'm getting a lot out of it. I can't think of any Xbox exclusives that I don't either already have or are worth investing. Ludicrous mention, call me Doxy Bokangwe, because it's fucking ludicrous. Alright, Xbox Game Pass for console costs $10.99 a month for existing subscribers, but you can no longer sign up for it? Excuse me? If you turn off automatic payments, your membership lasts, you'll lose access and will need to join a different plan. Oh, I see. So the standard one that's going on right now is no longer available. And if it lapses September 18th, the maximum extension limit for console plan will be 13 months. Then you'll need to start investing in one of these. Lame. Okay, yeah, this is lame. Like, I don't know. Because there's also the talk that, like, the next Xbox is going to upcharge for the existing users. Yeah. There's a whole bunch of talk that, like, the next Xbox isn't even going to be, like, an Xbox. You know, like, they're slowly and surely just trying to make, like, a PC competitor. I think, in all honesty, the next Xbox might be the last one. It's not going to be good. And it's borderline just going to be a PC. And by the end of it, we're just going to get an Xbox subscription service that you can get anywhere. PC, Switch, PlayStation, all cloud gaming. I feel like that's the direction they're going in, and it's a bad direction. Unless the next Xbox completely blows them out of the water. Unless the next Xbox is completely, turns all of this completely upside down, and they go in a radically different direction, it's not a good look. It's not a good time. Alright. Up next, Palworld. Okay, so this was sort of a 1-2 for Palworld. So the thing I was looking up for Palworld, Xbox will have no games like always. What do you mean? You'll have Halo 14, and it's not good. Alright, so this was a 1-2. The other thing I was looking up for Palworld that I just wanted to quickly talk about is that Palworld has partnered with, I think it was Sony, for, like, an anime. They're talking about, like, oh, maybe a movie or an anime show or all kinds of, like, maybe a manga. Like, there's a couple companies that partnered with the Palworld developers to start creating, like, a broader Palworld franchise, like franchising Palworld out into multiple what do you call them? Mediums of, you know, media. But the other one is, which I think is pretty interesting, is there was a lot of, you know, backlash when Palworld first came out. I was one of them. I was one of the people that was super anti-Palworld when it came out, because, and I still don't find the idea of Pokemon with guns interesting. There's something about the dissonance that I'm not a huge fan of, but the community lead here, and this is a Games Radar article by Catherine Lewis, just for people keeping track here. Palworld community lead says really, We didn't AI generate any pals, and no lawsuit ever existed following viral Pokemon comparisons. People were calling for a big lawsuit from Nintendo or the Pokemon Company when this game came out, because it was like, oh, that, like, oh, for XYZ reasons, like, these are Pokemon or whatever. And, like, none of these are a good example of the ones I'm thinking of, but there are a couple pals where I'm looking at them and I'm thinking about Pokemon that look like that. But also, there's like 1,000 Pokemon now. There's over 1,000 Pokemon now. Of course, there's going to be some overlap eventually. All my Pokemon stand friends were hard against it because it's a Pokemon ripoff. One of them is just Wooloo bipedal. Begging Nintendo to sue someone is bizarre as hell, right? And I mean, it's wild to me because usually Nintendo is super litigious, and I'm amazed that they got away with this. Here's the thing. This game is not for me. I hold no interest in Palworld. Truly like a net zero. Like, it's not, at this point, I don't care. But what I do care about is finally some competition in the space. You know, this game blew up. People love this game. And it's right alongside the likes of, I guess, like, Digimon and Yokai Watch, the other ones that, and I know they're not one-to-ones, but when I think of things that could rival Pokemon, other than the very obvious cheap ripoffs on a mobile store, this game is stupidly fun. I believe that. People are missing out. I totally believe that. But again, it's just not for me because I don't like the idea of Pokemon with guns. Like, that's not what I want when I want a Pokemon game. If I want a gun game, I'll play a gun game. If I want a Pokemon game, like, those are just two separate ideas in my head. Nintendo could have sued them. They would have the moment it was announced. Yeah, this game had been in production for years. Like, I think it was announced like 2 years before it actually came out. I don't like sandbox survival crafting, and that's fair. You know, I do. I like games like Minecraft. Also, it fell off hard. It got some DLC and stuff. It's one of those things where I feel like a lot of people jumped on it for the novelty. You know, like, it blew up a lot for, like, streaming and stuff, just for the novelty of it. And now it has, like, its true, like, core players. Like, these are the people who will be playing it regularly. Which, I'm glad they have that, you know? But they are claiming that there's no, you know, we didn't use AI generation. We didn't knowingly rip off the Pokemon Company. Oh yeah, here it is. Some even anticipated the Pokemon Company could take legal action. We intend to invest. After it released a statement saying we intend to investigate and take appropriate measures to address any acts that infringe on intellectual property rights related to Pokemon. It was never confirmed that Pokemon was actually referring to Palworld. The statement simply addressed the fact that the company had received many inquiries regarding another company's game released in January of 2024. Palworld. So I feel like if anything were going to happen, it would have happened, and at this point, now there is... The fact that there wasn't... I feel like legal precedent, like, any legal actions that were taken are just as important as legal actions that weren't taken. The fact that no lawsuit happened now, I believe, sets a precedent for Palworld going forward. And we'll see how much Palworld pushes the envelope. And I'm genuinely hoping that this kind of sparks a new... I just remembered at a game, I can't remember what it's called. Let me finish my thought real quick. Put a statement on Twitter. It got so bad, the Pokemon Company told people to shut up. That's awesome. The fact that even the Pokemon Company was like, it's not Pokemon. It's not Pokemon. That's not a Pokemon. That's not a Pokemon. That's so funny. Yeah, so I think this sets a really good precedent going forward for more rivalry in the space of the, you know, capture and battle beast mechanic. What was it? Tape Beasts that came out last year? Was it called Tape Beasts? That was like VHS's or like tape deck cassette beasts. Thank you. Yeah. I think Cassette Beast is also a really good example, because Cassette Beast is cute. I played a little bit. It's like 2-player multiplayer. I played a bit of that with a friend of mine. He had it. Rivalry is always good. It creates innovation and boosts creativity, which kind of leads into what some people complain about with Pokemon is that, you know, Pokemon is growing stale. Pokemon aren't doing enough anymore. XYZ reasons, you know. Personally, I think Pokemon has been needing competition. Scarlet and Violet release was just unacceptable. Lord knows Pokemon needs new creativity. I am a Scarlet Violet defender. I agree that it wasn't great at launch. I think it is a really fun Pokemon game. There's also Monster Crown literally imitates Sugimori's old faded watercolor art style. Ooh. I like that art style. And I know it was just part of, like, oh, in, like, digitizing the files, like, it messed with the color on it. You know, like, there's the recently found, like, all of his old art, or all of his art was, like, remastered or something, retouched up, and it's like, here are the actual colors that he used for certain Pokemon and stuff. Like, I think the Bulbasaur line was meant to be more green than it is, like, kind of that tealish blue. I digress. Personally, I think Pokemon has been going through some weird growing pains, because they've been making Pokemon for so long, and I've talked about the Gear Project, or Project Gear, whatever order it's in, which is like the reason why we didn't get a second game in Kalos. You know, we didn't get like a Pokemon Z or whatever, because they were too busy with the Gear Project at the time. They just want to do something new, and that's why I think the Legends game was such a good idea. Pokemon Legends Arceus was such like a different thing for them to work on, and going into open world games, like Sword and Shield was like a little bit of that idea, kind of like, oh, here's something we might be toying around with. Scarlet Violet was them doing it for real, and I think these are just growing pains. I legitimately think the next one is going to be better. I think Pokemon Legends ZA, which I'm so fucking excited for. I have not been this excited for a Pokemon game in a long time. I like Pokemon, don't get me wrong. I was excited for Scarvi. I like Scarvi a lot. I really do. But I'm so excited for Legends ZA because Arceus didn't catch me. I don't love 4th gen the way that other people love 4th gen. So, like, Arceus was just, it was like, oh, that looks cool. I still haven't played it. I might play it on stream at some point. Pokemon Conquest 2 would be a cool thing if they ever remembered they did that. Hopefully the new ones will be much better. I am of the belief that if you give people the experience of working on something, they can learn from that, you know? And I think it's also worth noting that project managers, like, we don't totally know what goes on at any studio. Even if a studio is outed as doing, like, terrible bad things, and they say, we'll work on making our work environment better, we don't know for a fact. We don't know for a fact that they do that. And we don't know for a fact what the day-to-day at the Pokemon Company is. Or, what is it, Game Freak makes the games? I'm trying to remember. Game Freak, right? Yes. My brain, okay, I know it's Game Freak, but whenever I said Game Freak, for whatever reason, the HAL Labs logo popped up in my head, and I'm like, no, that's Kirby. No, HAL Labs is Kirby. And then I remember the little spirally look from the Game Boy games for Game Freak. Yeah, Brand Manager. So yeah, we don't know what the day-to-day looks like at Game Freak or Nintendo or the Pokemon Company. We don't know all these things, but Pokemon being the biggest franchise ever, they need to keep all of their releases across everything they do as consistent as possible in terms of making sure things line up. They need to make sure the new anime lines up with when the new TCG stuff drops, you know, like the new set for the card game needs to line up with the anime, needs to line up with the games, need to line up with all these things. So the Pokemon Company probably has put pressure on Game Freak about release dates because they needed to line up with an anime or a TCG, XYZ reasons. And it's not an excuse, but it is worth noting that, you know, it's not like they have like a huge room with every programmer, and they all make decisions about what goes into a game. It's project managers, it's project leads, it's maybe, I want to say maybe 10% of any given game company are the people who have the final say in what goes into a game. You know? You have, like, the other 90% working on the game, and they'll design things, they'll show them to the project leaders, and the project leads will have adjustments or changes, you know, oh, can you try this instead? Can we see how it looks like this instead? XYZ, you know, changes, you know, notes. But for the most part, you know, big things like, I'll just address it. Mew, you have a problem with lack of post-game in Pokemon. There might be people who work at Pokemon who are like, I want to put this stuff back in. But there might be project leads who have Pokemon Company breathing down that, like, lack of little things to get lost in. Yeah, like, an issue that I agree with is that you'll have, like, a big city and you can't go into every building anymore. Like, in older Pokemon games, you could go into every building, but at the same time, a town was only, like, 8 buildings big. And that would be, like, a city. But, like, so you have, like, the Pokemon Company, who doesn't work on the games at all. But you have the Pokemon Company breathing down the neck of the executives at Game Freak. And so you have the Game Freak executives being like, okay, we have to make this release date. We're going to have to cut some things. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if, now that they have a couple full open world games, Arceus and Scarvi. They have a couple of full, like, open world games under their belt. And they have assets made, you know, they have all of the Pokemon assets made and stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if, for the next one, it's polished a little bit better. There might be more stuff to do. You know, maybe a better post-game. Because right now the post-game in Pokemon games is just the raid battles, which you can do with friends, you know. And that was another thing, too, that I fucking loved about Scarvi, is unrelated, but Scarvi sounds like the name of a Pokemon. Yeah, you're not wrong. Scarvi. Oh, man. My fucking train of thought. Arrow, why would you do this to me? Scorvisquire. Oh, my fucking brain. I wouldn't be surprised if the next Pokemon game is more polished and has more to do in a post-game. You know, maybe some more competitive things, because one thing that Scarvi, I think, did really well, comparatively, you know, they're just, because Nintendo Online has always been, like, really hit and miss. There's only, like, a couple of Nintendo Online games that do online really well. I really liked playing Scarlet and Violet online with friends. My partner and I played a lot of, like, not a lot of, but, like, we played, like, Scarlet and Violet together in the same world. You know, we're just running around like, oh, you know, hey, can you come help me with this raid battle, XYZ? Like, I've been saying, like, XYZ just as a filler a lot. I'm sorry about that. But, like, that probably helped. Yeah, like, I would love more online functionality. You know, like, if it's local online functionality, you don't need the Nintendo Online, but if it's, you know, over Wi-Fi, you do need the Nintendo Online. That's just how their service works. But imagine having friends. But, like, I would love more online function. And I think that's another thing, actually, thinking about it. Paying for Nintendo's online service is new to the Switch. Back on, like, I mean, like, Game Boy, you had, like, the link cable. But on DS and 3DS, you didn't have to pay for Nintendo's online service. You do now on Switch. So that's probably where a lot of people are also finding an issue with, like, maybe the competitive scene of Pokemon, because now there's a barrier of entry in terms of a price on it. To play competitive online Pokemon, you need to pay for their online service, which sucks. But again, that's not a fault of Pokemon, that's just Nintendo's branding, or how they do their online service. But I Oh yeah, we were talking about Pal World. They can't afford not to. They were the last company to do it. Oh yeah, for sure. Like, I think it was Xbox, PlayStation, and then Nintendo. That's why Showdown is often used instead of practice of Pokemon competition. Yeah. Anyway, we were talking about Pal World. My point being that, like, given the success of Pal World and, like, the success of moderate success of Cassette Beasts, the ongoing, you know, Digimon games, I think Yokai Watch is still going on. Nintendo Switch Online's biggest problem is that we have more modern standards multiplayer service, less doggy clunky than with a good party system. Yeah, and that's always been the thing. That's why I still appreciate Nintendo a lot, because people are, you know, oh, boo, the Switch isn't as powerful. You know, like, even at launch, the Switch wasn't, you know, super powerful. It only did the XYZ thing. But it was still the first hybrid console like that. Nintendo just does their own thing. Oh, this new PS3 that's coming out, this new Xbox 360 that's coming out. They can do, like they can play DVDs, they got that 720p resolution, they can do all these things, online play. We're gonna do motion controls. GameCube, for better, you know, as much as people love the GameCube wasn't hugely successful as a console. They're like, we're just gonna do the Wii, we're just gonna do motion controls. Oh man, you know, Xbox One, PS4 can play, like, Blu-rays, Blu-ray DVDs. It can play, like, damn, that's cool. Happy for them. But do they have a cardboard gun? Exactly. Like, my point being that Nintendo does its own thing, and I super appreciate them for that. Like, they have stated, and I don't know if they're gonna go back on this because I don't know how many people remember this. Earlier this year, an executive at Nintendo said whatever the next console they do is, it's not going to be a Switch 2. And they will do their best to continue making games for the Switch as well as whatever their next console is. Which is a super, like, subversive way of talking about it. You know, throwing people off of the scent of a Switch 2 or something. But basically, it seems like their mindset is the Switch is its own thing. We're not going to try, you know, because, like, the Wii was its own thing. The Wii U had, like, the little screen thing. Like, that was its own thing. They've always been really good. Like, the last time they did a console like anybody else was the GameCube. Then the Wii. Then the Wii U. And then the Switch. Like, they are just doing their own thing. And now it seems like other companies are trying to catch up. You know, the Steam Deck obviously is, like, the biggest comparison. But, like, supposedly Xbox is working on a Switch competitor and stuff. But, like, oh, hang on. This is, like, end of the game music. I'm going to back it at the beginning of this. Spyro 2 OST. Alright, so, yeah, I guess just my point being that, to bring this all the way back around to Pal World, is that I'm hoping that these other games that are slowly coming up will just give them the little bit that they need to, like, really lock it in. You know, I'll still play whatever the next Pokemon game is going to be ZA, but I think ZA is probably going to be the last mainline Pokemon game before, like, Gen 10 is probably going to be on whatever the new Switch is. But they also said, or the new Nintendo console, but they also said, you know, we're going to try and make games for both. I personally would want from Nintendo, a more standard, like, home console that I can play real games on, that I don't have to do cloud gaming for. Because the idea of cloud gaming is gross to me. Where it's like, oh, we're going to download a bit of this onto your console, but also you have to be online at all times to actually play the rest of the game. Like, it's the same thing that, like, what is it? Activision's doing now, where it's like you have to be connected at all times to play Call of Duty, even the single player, because you're going to be streaming textures. Gross. All right. I have one article left open here. I actually kind of wanted to bring this one up first because way earlier, cloud gaming is something that sounds good in theory, but is horrible. Yeah, because, like, Google, the Google Stadia, was, like, way ahead of the curve on that. Because now Xbox is super, like, cloud gaming forward. Yuck. So I wanted to talk about this one first, actually, because we were talking about earlier companies that do and don't use AI. You know, there's like Nintendo has said they're not going to be using AI. We just saw Palworld claims not to have used AI in the generation of their PALs. NVIDIA is open sourcing the RTX Remix toolkit and releasing the Runtime SDK to empower developers in virtually any game. So what this is, this was just an article I pulled up about this. This is a PC Gamer article by Dave James. So what this does, what this is an AI tool in RTX that uses two first names. Don't trust that guy. Exactly. So basically what this is this is an AI tool that takes from any game. It's open source. It just funnels in from tons of games everywhere. And the big thing that it, like, claims to do is, like, I think, does this have the pictures? No, okay. Basically, this is like, oh, you'll have, this doesn't have the pictures, but one of them that I saw was like, oh, here's Portal 2, but, like, in a bunch of different locations. And it was, like, locations taken from other games, or, like, AI-generated locations from, like, oh, we took a bunch of, like, these space games, and AI-generated a space location to play Portal and kind of a thing. It's a modding tool, but it uses AI and generative modeling from other people's art to generate this stuff. And a lot of what I saw was like, oh, this game running, like this older game running at, you know, 4K 60 frames per second, which just reminds me of all those shitty anime, like, remasters. Sounds like it's gonna have a lot of lawsuits. That's the thing. You would think after so many, like, at this point we're hitting, what, year 2 or 3 of this generative AI bullshit that is taking from a bunch of different artists. You'd think we would have heard about a major lawsuit at this point, where it's just like, oh, like Twitter. Twitter is taking, if you post your art on Twitter, Twitter has a sneaky new setting that is just auto set to on for you, where it's like, if you post art to Twitter, Twitter gets to feed that into a generative AI model. It's fucking insane. So yeah, basically what this is good thing my art is shit. It is not shit. Waiting for someone to use this and accidentally take a Disney asset from Kingdom Hearts and Disney to delete their life in game. Oh my god. Do y'all remember the guy? So there was a guy, I can't remember his name. No, okay, so but also there was an AI artist started redrawing, reposting. Yes, I did see that. Giving them fodder to feed it. Yeah. I mean, I also think that's very funny. But, there was a guy, I can't remember his first name, but his last name was Bowser. Not Doug Bowser. Not Doug Bowser from Nintendo himself. But there was a dude whose last name was Bowser, who, I think he had like a hacked Switch, and ended up... I think he was like... I don't know if he had like a hacked Pokemon thing he was doing and sending out like hundreds of hacked Pokemon into the world, you know, just blind trading and stuff with people, or if he actually hacked his system and got like free games or something. Bowser was selling a bunch of shit. Yeah. So Nintendo, Gary Bowser, thank you. Nintendo blew his ass away. Yeah. Man owes Nintendo $14 million. Yes, for piracy. He now has to give Nintendo like 75% of his income for the rest of his life or something. Hang on, I can't remember. I'm gonna click on this article. Please be kind to me. Oh, that's so small and tiny. Okay, hang on. Let's zoom. Gross, get out of here. The Guardian. Let's zoom. Could be worse, he says. Oh my god. 14 months, 40-month sentence. Owes him 14 million USD. There was an exact number he gave where he's like, I have to give a certain percentage of my income to Nintendo for the rest of my life just to pay this off. Oh, as a part of the agreement, Bowser now has to pay Nintendo 20-30% of any money left over. Okay, so pays for his bare necessities, which is probably going to be more than 50% of his. You notice how the main people who pirate games tend to be the ones who make stupid decisions like distributing them? Somebody has to, though. Let me rephrase. The ones who get caught, how else people get them? Oh, man. Like, I kind of feel bad for this guy. You know? Because, like, bare necessities like rent and food and stuff, like, monthly, you know, your monthly living expensive. Cost of living is going up like crazy. So monthly living expenses probably going to be more than 50% of your income. Let's be real. And then anything left over, like, he's gonna... Oh, man. Poor fucking guy. That's what happens when you get caught. Anyway, yeah, so RTX and Nvidia are now just also jumping on the generative AI bandwagon, and this blows. Yeah, no doubt, but the problem is he didn't just dump the files anonymously. Oh yeah, he was selling them. Cool. It would be so funny if it was something so simple and stupid, like he was just telling people to Venmo him, and it just had like his first and last name and like the country he lives in and stuff. Like, oh, it will be converted to pounds sterling or wherever he you know, so you know he lives in England. So like Gary Bowser in England, or like Gary Bowser USD, so you know he lives in the United States. At least his last name is fitting. Oh yeah, the fact that Bowser was stealing from Nintendo. Primo. He's kind of rotund, like the Koopa King. Alright, that's kind of everything. What's the name of the dude at Gearbox who is evil or whatever? Randy Pitchford. Do you think he will AI the next game he produces? I don't think Randy Pitchford is evil. I think Randy Pitchford is a simpleton. Which is such a, like, bland insult. I think it might be worse. Calling him a simpleton. Like, the dude auctioned off his own shirts. Which is creepy. Yo, dude, what's going on? We are just about wrapping up the gaming news. That was the last thing I had to talk about. I might actually play something. We still got a bit of time left. If I remember correctly, Yuzu got screwed because they did something similar by offering a modding Switch service. Interesting. Alright, it's a pretty quiet month. Yeah, it was a lot of little, at the beginning of the stream, it was like a lot of little things that weren't really, like, it's not really a story when Nintendo says we're not going to use generative AI. That's like a one-sentence blurb that you can just be like, oh, that's cool. We'll see how long that lasts, right, Nintendo? So yeah, I'm going to run to the bathroom real quick, and then maybe come back with something? Maybe? We'll see. I might... Oh, what can I play? What can I play? I'll find something to play. Pretty sure Yuzu got taken down because they were actually making money off it. Yep, and that's the thing. The second you're making money off it is, like, logistically speaking, making money off it is where, like, I see the legal repercussions. Personally, I think if it's for game preservation, for the sake of game preservation, don't sell it. Don't sell these things, you know? Then there actually is a legal issue, in my opinion. But again, I'm not a lawyer. Don't take anything I say as legal advice. If you get caught slipping, that's not on me. But yeah, I will be right back. Enjoy the Spyro OST while I figure out what the hell we're gonna do now, because that's really the end of it. Oh, I guess I'll finish up the VOD real quick for the people watching this on YouTube. For some smart people, coding-wise, the Yuzu devs were morons. Oh, I love moron, simpleton, buffoon. Oh, so many good, like, low threat insults. Alright, if you're watching this on YouTube, thank you so much for hanging out. Again, I'm just gonna end the VOD real quick for Ignoramus. Ooh. If you're watching this on YouTube, thank you so much for hanging out. If you want to know when I go live with these, last Sunday of every month we do a gaming wrap-up stream with the news, and then I stream Monday through Thursday. And I'm thinking, don't quote me on this, I'm thinking about maybe making Sunday a regular streaming day for me, so it'd be like a 5-day, you know, Sunday through Thursday, and then take Friday, Saturday off, maybe. We'll see how I'm feeling. Sundays are going to be up in the air, but I've been feeling like streaming more lately, like more. If you want to know when I go live, following me on Twitch is the easiest way to do it. At 100 followers, I will be playing the ET game. At 200 followers, I will be playing Akiba's Trip. Oh boy. You do pop-up Sundays? Don't promise to say. Yeah, exactly, when I feel like it. Akiba's space Trip. Akiba's Trip. That's at 200 followers, which is so far away. It's a pun. I know it's a pun. It's supposed to be either or. I know. VODs end up on YouTube. There is a Discord server if I am not live right now and you can't get the Discord from me or a mod like you. I know what the game is about. Either sounds fun. Hockey Best. R.I.P. Explain the joke. If I'm not live and you can't get the Discord link from me or a mod, there should be a permalink in the Twitch bio, and then there's also my film podcast, Kill All Film Majors, new episode every other Saturday. We're talking about hopefully recording a bunch of them, like just getting a bunch out of the way, and then start to do weekly releases every Saturday. But for the time being, every other Saturday. And once again, that is Kill All Film Majors, and then last Sunday of every month we do this. And yeah, just general, the Discord is where we just chat, hang out, vote on what I play. But yeah, I'm going to be right back. For people watching the VOD on YouTube, be good, be kind, treat people the way you want to be treated, and I'll catch you in the next one.